YouTube? Welcome to Fred's Full Throttle. For 2.5 years, you've all heard me go on and on about the Lemons car, building the race car, and all the time and effort and money spent, as well as the challenges, hardship, and delays. Well, I owe you all the best possible video I can muster to take you through all of 24 Hours of Lemons. These are going to be long videos. I already know that before I've even edited or filmed it together. But I know some of you are wanting to see every little detail, so I present to you the entire experience of racing as seen through my eyes. So grab a cup of coffee, kick back in your favorite chair, and let's go racing. So right out of the gate, I want to say this is all a bit surreal. Here I am standing, post-race, a race that we drove our Lemons race car in. A car that took us 2.5 years to build. And it happened. Pinch me. Did the car make it? Did we crash? Did we have any mechanical problems? And did we triumph? Yes, 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 and yes. But to see the details and how we overcame all the challenges, you're gonna have to watch, so let's dive in. The 2025 GP du Lac Chargoggagogg, etc. at Thompson, as this Lemons race is known, is at Thompson Motor Speedway in Thompson, Connecticut. The track is about 90 minutes from my house. Our plan was to show up at 7 a.m. when the gates open on Friday, go in and stake out our spot at the track. Given that the early arrival means leaving my house even earlier, the weekend prior to the race, I drove up and got the car so I wouldn't have to drive an extra 2.5 hours round trip out of my way that Friday morning. While I was up there getting the car, we did the last little bit of cleanup wiring, getting our GoPro hooked up, putting that and the cool suit system on the main kill switch, and then we drove the car up onto the trailer. At the last minute, we noticed a little bit of a problem. The entire gauge cluster in the car didn't work. Well, the car started, and the most important data, the cooling temperature, has a separate digital temperature gauge that we had put in ourselves. So with a shrug, we loaded the car up, figuring we would fix it the next Friday afternoon after we unloaded at the track. All right, the car is all loaded and I am headed home, and we've got 1 week till the race. You can see the car back there. And starting to feel a little bit real. So our plan, show up Friday at gates open, get our camping gear, garage space set up, get the car teched, get the safety gear teched, and then relax till Saturday. Every team gets a 20-foot by 40-foot spot on the paddock, but it's first come, first serve. We figured that showing up at gate opening at 7 a.m. on Friday morning would be enough, but we would be wrong. Of course, at 6 p.m. on Thursday, the day before, we find out that teams are allowed to come reserve their spots from 5 to 10 p.m. that day. And we were going to be hoping that there were spots available on Friday. But the racing gods, and you're going to hear about them a little bit throughout this, they smiled on us. Our friend Tim was camping nearby and offered not only to go stake out a spot, but to actually camp there Thursday night. So we would definitely have a spot, and a good one at that. Tim calls us, and sure enough, much of the paddock is already full. So it's really fortunate that he was there when he was. Huge shout out to Tim for saving us a spot. So Friday morning comes around, and I leave the house at the crack of 5:30 or so, and off we go. It is 5:15, and I've got the car all loaded up, and just gotta pull the plastic wrap off. I already loaded up the cooler, and I'm headed to Lemons. So first time race, first time using the car, actually racing. 2.5 years of effort all coming to this, so very excited. See you there. As is starting to become tradition for this race car, anytime we want to use it, it's raining hard as I leave home. However, it's forecast to clear up by around 9 a.m. at Thompson. So, other than a wet ride, I get there at the same time as Joe, and we check in. Then we go find Tim. Tim had grabbed us a primo spot on the second paddock, and we were feeling pretty great. We unload the car, set up our camping spot, and before we know it, it's time for tech inspection. The way it works is like this. First, you go to tech inspection. This is where you dress up in your theme, as is part of Lemons. Ours was logging themed. The judges check out your theme, assess how committed you are to it. Then, more importantly, this is where they safety inspect the car. Does your roll cage meet all the requirements? Do your welds look solid? Do you have the proper fire suppression? Do you have all the electrical on your main shutoff? Do you have all the right tow hooks and labels? Do you have the appropriate gas tank? Etc., etc. There's a lot. This takes about 10 to 15 minutes per car, and there were 96 cars. Then immediately after you finish the tech inspection, you go in for the BS inspection. What is the BS inspection, you ask? Well, it's sort of what you expect. It's to detect how much BS you're trying to shovel by the judges. Remember, for lemons, all safety equipment aside, all the performance parts plus the purchase price of the car, minus any parts you've sold off, should at most be $500. Of course, the organization expects people to try to fudge their way through this. Hidden parts, free parts that came on the car, performance mods, all of it. These judges didn't just fall off the turnip truck, and it's not an easy assessment. Fail or do poorly, and you earn a whole bunch of penalty laps with no real limit on how many you might earn. Personally, I was hoping for maybe 30 laps, and I'd be grateful that it wasn't more. But we had two aces in our sleeve. First, we had a detailed bit of documentation about the entire car purchase. Pictures of the car the day we picked it up. It had sat for over 10 years, long enough that the tires had sunk into the pavement and they were dry rotted. There were bee nests in the headliners, the floor had moss growing on it. The car looked in pretty rough shape. I then included the whole text message chain and the conversation around the price, showing that my neighbor James had indeed sold us the car for $500 and not a penny more. Lastly, I included the bill of sale with signatures, timestamps showing that it was last adjusted the day we bought it, etc. It gives us a pretty solid case, but maybe that's not enough for the BS inspection. So it was time to break out the bribes. Bribes at Lemons are a time-honored tradition for Lemons and a tongue-in-cheek way to try to soften the blow of penalties you might incur for having too good of a car. The more creative, unique, or thoughtful the bribes, the better. And showing some thought went into it really helps with the impact of the bribe. We had a lot of ideas, so we decided that we'd each buy a few bribes. Travis brought some bourbon. Joe bought a crystal glass set and a decanter for the bourbon. Ian brought a 10-pack of travel-size sunscreen for the course workers and packets of Pedialyte so people could stay hydrated. Travis also brought 2 small Lego race car sets, so as a penalty for other teams, they could try to be assembled before being allowed back on track. I brought 3 10-packs of mini Snickers, 3 huge umbrella hats, which the judges especially liked, and I brought a wooden gavel with the strike plate for dishing out justice and other penalties. The bribes were really well received. Something we did worked because amazingly and inexplicably, we got 0 penalty laps. 0. Goose egg. Zilch. We never expected anything like that. BMWs in general, and especially E46s, are notoriously a ringer car. They're fast, relatively reliable if you keep them cool, and they're well balanced. For the money, they're about the best performance you can get, and they're an actually engaging, fun car to drive. Everyone we talked to prior to the event would wince when they learned what car we had and say, "Ugh, I hope they don't give you too many penalty laps." We even took bets with each other on how many we get. So 0 was definitely a gift from those racing gods I mentioned. I like to think that our preparation, embracing our theme, our adherence to safety, our documentation, and of course our bribes all contributed to show that we were there for the full experience, and I think the judges appreciated that. Coming out of both inspections, we were given an A0 rating. The 0 obviously means no penalty laps, and A means we were going to be running in the A group class. There are 3 classes in Lemons. Class C are the slowest cars, the ones that would likely do better as an artificial coral reef on the ocean floor than an actual racing car. Class B are somewhat faster, better handling cars, but still have some serious flaws. Class A is different. Class A is the fastest cars, the best sorted, the ones that are very likely to set the most laps, be the most competitive, and offer the most drama. We were sure that we were going to be an A because of the E46 platform, and we were. Up next, after those inspections, is the safety gear inspection. They check that you have all the appropriate safety gear and that it's all in good condition, FIA rated for fire protection, and fits properly. We didn't have any issues there. One of the judges, Manny, dropped by and it was a chance for me to thank him. Remember those broken gauges in the car? Well, Manny had brought printouts of the wiring harness for our car and an ODB2 port scanner to share with us if we needed it. He and the other staff were really friendly, helpful, and although their primary responsibility was ensuring safety and following the rules, they also worked to make sure everyone had a good experience, help out wherever they could, and be accessible for answering all my rookie questions. and just make the whole event a positive experience. Speaking of those broken gauges, guess what worked when we unloaded the car at the track? All the gauges. They worked all weekend for the entire event without any further drama or issue. My hunch is that the tent that we store the car in at Travis's house trapped some moisture in the car somewhere, as we'd gotten some rainy and very hot, humid days. For the week that it was at my house, I stored it behind my house, right on our lawn, and it was 100 degrees and the car sat in direct sun all day long, just baking. I'm thinking that maybe whatever moisture evaporated and dried out. For whatever reason, maybe even those racing gods smiling down on us, it was a non-issue and we didn't have to deal with it any further. Now that we were all settled, part of the fun was walking around the pits and checking out all the other cars, meeting the other teams, and taking in the whole experience. There were 96 teams entered, so there was a lot to see. It varied from people in just their car, a simple tent, maybe some camping chairs, whatever tools they could fit in their car, to people with $500,000 motorhomes, semi-trucks, double-decker car carriers, and the like. But one thing was really cool. Everyone we talked to was approachable, friendly, and excited. Everyone offered to loan tools, spare parts, and help you however you needed at any time. The sense of sportsmanship and camaraderie was very real. And while many do take the racing very seriously, that didn't seem to come at the cost of being good stewards for the event and helping your fellow competitor. As someone mentioned to us, they'd rather beat someone out on the track or be beaten, rather than to have that person lose because their car broke down and they couldn't compete. Pretty great to see that firsthand. Relatively quiet. Travis grilled up some steak tips, we had some pasta salad and grilled corn, and we sat under our Easy Up, giddy with excitement for the next day. Race day 1. 6 a.m. comes pretty early, and my brain couldn't sleep any longer. It was pretty neat to see the track with dew and fog surrounding it, quiet as a mouse, without the buzz and hustle of people moving around. I drove up to the top of the viewing hill and took it all in. So it is 6:20 on race day. I woke up a little bit early, got to bed early last night, which was nice. And I know I probably look a little scraggly, but very, very excited. And we had a great time this past night. We got everything kind of set up for the car, made a nice dinner, a couple of our friends showed up. And yeah, it's kind of the calm before the storm, but super excited. We passed tech yesterday, so we went in, we dropped off the car, talked to the officials through everything that we had done, and didn't end up with any penalty laps. It ended up that they really liked the car. They thought we had done a really good job on like the roll cage and the welding, which I think is a pretty nice thing for them to say. And then I had done a pretty good job on the documentation for how we got the car, what we paid for it, all the work we did. Photo documented everything, included the bill of sale and kind of all the communications and stuff. And amazingly, surprisingly to us, that was all that was needed. And we got 0 penalty laps. We're not going to squander that. Our goal today is to just drive safe. Don't really care about what position we're in. Not going to be setting lap records. Not going to be passing a ton of people, I don't think. But just stay safe, stay out of the crashes, and try to make it as far as we can. Hopefully, make it through the end of the day. So, very excited.
In 3 hours, that silence would be replaced with a cacophony of sounds, smells of fuel and exhaust, and the dramatic spectacle that is 24 hours of lemons. It was the calm before the storm, if you will. Time moves fast, and as we made our last-minute preparations, off to the driver's meeting we go, and before you know it, we're back at our setup, getting ready to go. As we were performing our last-minute checks, family and friends started showing up. I'd invited a whole slew of people to the race, hoping even just a few would show up. They turned up in spades. Family, friends, people that live far away. It was amazing and wonderful to see the support, and it meant a huge amount to me and our team. For many in our orbit, this was the first they'd actually seen the car in person. Everyone was aware of our project over the past 2.5 years, but this was the first chance people actually got to see the car, see us in our element, and actually take in the intensity, the complexity, and the scale of this project. Everyone was quite impressed with what we'd accomplished, and we hadn't even started yet. Special shout out to my friend Lorenzo and his wife Jennifer, who I met through this very YouTube channel several years ago, and they made the drive out to come and support me. I really appreciate it, guys. As we're about to start, I want to tell you all about our secret weapon. I've said all along that our team is 4, but in reality, our team is 5. Our ace up the sleeve, our own personal Stig, we have Lenny. Lenny is our crew chief, the guy manning the radio to the driver, and is hands down the best person in the world suited for that job. He's calm under pressure, smart and analytical, he's an engineer after all, and a great friend to all of us. But even better than that, he's the most die-hard BMW enthusiast we've ever met. He tracks an E46 M3 all the time. He built a custom trailer for his M3 from the back of another M3, complete with usable seats, an opening trunk, the same wheels, full power, blinkers, etc. Oh, but I'm not done. Not only that, but he currently owns 3 BMW Isettas and has in total somewhere around 7 BMWs currently. He is the ultimate fan. However, it goes deeper. He is a track addict. He's done more track driving than likely my entire Gearheads group combined, and he's in the process to become a certified BMW track instructor. I'm pretty convinced that next to his heart is a straight 6 that powers his love of that Bavarian brand. In short, he's the perfect person for the job. We decided up front that Lenny was going to be the only person talking to the driver during the race, even though we had a bunch of radios. Coordinate with the driver on pit stops, refueling, and mechanical issues, and talking with the driver to assess how they're doing, if they need to pull in, and help them to avoid mishaps. Like his hobbies with cars, Lenny took this job very seriously. He found the best vantage point on the track so he could spot the car about 90% of the way around the track. He trekked up and down that hill dozens of times each day. He personally came to the pits on every driver change, every pit stop, every fuel up, and spent the whole day in the hot sun. The entire team owes him a huge debt of gratitude for everything that he did, and we consider him just as much as a part of the team as any of the 4 of us. I'd be remiss to not also call out two people who swooped in and really made the entire experience better in every possible way. I've already mentioned Tim, but he deserves a bit more elaboration. While he planned on stopping by the race, he didn't necessarily plan to become our 6th team member. Tim is the man. He volunteered to be our gopher, our assistant, our support, and was a true one-man army. Anything we needed, he was on it. I armed him with my Honda Ruckus so he could come and go as quickly as he ever needed to, and he was swooping in and out. Everything from cleaning the window just before the car went on track.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. Okay, gotta get out of here. Sorry. Alright, good.
Good?
Okay.
To cooking food, to getting things for people, relaying communication, to helping lug all the fuel jugs over to the pits. Tim was there. We were all blown away by his generosity, and I want to share my heartfelt and deepest thanks to you, man, for all the work you did. Huge, huge thank you. We really appreciated it. Also, another friend, Nick, showed up. Again, he thought he was just going to spectate. Nah, we put him to work. See, our pit area wasn't near the actual pits. It was roughly a quarter mile away. So that meant that for every driver change, it wasn't going to be easy or as comfortable as we'd like. Without Nick, drivers would have had to schlep it over to the pits, walking in their full racing gear in 90+ degree heat, high humidity, only to then get into a hot car. Not with Nick on the job. He became our personal chauffeur, using his F-150 to ferry drivers and crew back and forth dozens of times. Not only did he have the AC blasting, but he had set up his center console armrest with a small fridge that kept a 6-pack of water frosty cold so that every driver coming off the track could immediately get into that AC and have a bottle or two of cold water. Beyond that, he also helped prepare food, make runs out to buy the things that we needed, and made himself available at our disposal without any hesitation or question. I can't begin to thank you enough, Nick, for selflessly donating your entire weekend as well, without even knowing in advance that you were going to. Huge, huge thank you, man, from the whole team. Tim and Nick, you are two of the most stand-up, wonderful people, and I want to send a huge thank you to both of you. I'd be remiss if I didn't also make one more big thank you to my wife, Rachel. Not for just being supportive of the hobby, though that is also huge, but because she also rolled up her sleeves and donated her time and effort to keep us well stocked with food throughout the weekend, lots of cold drinks, and an endless supply of ice that we used for both the cool suit as well as all the other things that we needed in the pits. Additionally, she took hundreds of great photos with her camera, which are scattered throughout this video. Huge thank you, babe. I love you, and we all really appreciated the work that you put in. I hope with all these descriptions, it helps set the stage for how much goes into an endeavor like this. It's not as simple as just building a car or driving. There are countless tasks that need to get done, and it takes an army to make it go smoothly. Okay, on to the race. So our goals for the race were as follows, in this order. 1, don't crash. If we did nothing else, don't crash. 2, finish the race. This was far from a sure thing, but if there was one thing we wanted more than anything else, it was to finish the race for the whole weekend. 3, don't be in last place at the end. If we achieved both of those other goals, which already was a tall order, then we would love to not come in last place. Nothing fancy, nothing audacious, just those 3 goals. Game time. And like that, Joe gets into the car, drives over to the start, and he's out on track. Before you know it, the race is underway. The race uses a rolling start format where they get all the cars out onto the track, driving about 40 to 50 miles an hour around. And then once everything's good, all the flaggers radio in, everything looks good, the green flag waves, and we're off to the races. so fast. Suddenly, the race is underway, and Joe is now officially a race car driver and the first person ever raced the car. It's chaos. With around 90 cars on track, because a few people didn't make it to the start, but they joined shortly thereafter, it's like driving in heavy Boston traffic, complete with all the bad drivers except at higher speeds, and everyone is trying harder to be ahead of you. The dull roar of engines is now a full-on cacophony for the next 9 hours. It is absolutely wild. So you need to have a bit of a strategy for the race if you want to have things go smoothly. I'm not talking about a strategy for the driving. I'll get to that in a minute. You need a strategy for driver swaps, ice swaps, refueling, what to do if there's issues, and all of that. In this case, a little planning goes a long ways. Our first few hours strategy was just do short driver stints, 30 minutes or so per driver, to maximize the chance that everyone gets a chance to actually drive the car. Joe was first, then Travis, then myself, and then Ian batting cleanup. Once we'd all gotten a shot, we dialed it back to 45 to 60 minutes on the first day, and on the second day, we each did hour 15 to an hour and a half per driver. Next up, gas. The car, despite the hard driving, wasn't awful on gas. We decided to go with every 2 or 3 driver swaps to tie in a fuel up as well. Every 2 or 3 drivers, we'd also change out the ice and the cool suit. One other piece to mention is that our fuel gauge didn't work. There are 2 fuel sensors in the tank because there's a left and right side of the tank and a bit of a bridge in the middle. However, at totally full, the car reads about half full. This meant that we had to estimate and approximate our usage from full, so the whole time it was a bit of a gamble. But we didn't run out and our plan worked. That's definitely going to be one of those winner fix-it items for the next season. Since driver changes and any gas, ice require multiple people fully suited up, most of the changes were at least 3/4 of the team, if not all 4. Suffice it to say, everybody was busy all day long. Before I knew it, it was my turn. My dream of becoming a race car driver was at hand. This wasn't a moment to savor. Instead, getting in the car was intense and fast. I'm standing in the pits and in comes Travis. The car stops briskly and we wait a few seconds for Travis to unstrap, and then we hop the wall. The heat of the car is radiating off of it. Hans device swap between drivers because we only have one, while another team member prepares the harness straps. I walk over and in I go. 3 sets of hands are working quickly. I can't hear much because my earpieces for the radio are already in my ears, plus I have my Nomex balaclava and my helmet on. Travis is helping me strap in, and I'm connecting the water lines to the cool suit while he's doing that. On the other side, one of our other team members, and I can't remember who at the moment, connects up my radio and the other side of the harness. Straps get cinched down, door slams, adjust the mirrors, radio check, thumbs up, clutch in gear, and off I go. Quick check by the track marshal to make sure I had my fire suppression armed, my helmet was strapped, and I had a driver wristband, and then I'm waved onto the track. And into the maelstrom I descend.
Alright, should be good.
Ooh, that's loud.
Alright, neutral.
Yep.
On if you wanna. Get back there.
One more radio check.
Your fire bottle pin is pulled?
I'm sorry?
Your fire extinguisher, the pin is pulled?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. My first several laps, I try to stay out of everyone's way and predominantly hug the right side of the track. The noise is incredible, even through everything I just mentioned. The sound of the cars, the tires screeching for grip, the grit and rubber pinging off the hood and the windshield, the rattles and noise of the chassis, the stones bouncing around in the wheel wells. Those first few laps were nearly overwhelming. I'm being passed on both sides nearly everywhere on the track by cars going significantly faster than me. Distances are tight. I could literally fold in the mirrors of the cars passing me in many cases, and it feels like I'm just narrowly missing a collision one after the other. Turns can be 2 cars wide, 3 cars wide, maybe even 4 at speed. Grip is solid in many places, but our traction control is dicey at best, and you need to be smooth. One of the first things I learned is that there are a whole group of like 8 to 10 diehards that are driving very aggressively. Not unexpected, but rather the length to which they would take risks kind of startled me. If you're coming into a corner and you leave 3 feet available on the inside, someone is going to stuff the nose of their car in there, forcing you to the outside, lest you crash into them. That pushes you out into the people that are passing you on that side. That car that squeezed by on the inside, yeah, there's another car about 2 feet off his bumper pushing for him to get out of his way. On the straight, speeds for me averaged about 110, peaking at around 120 a few times, and I'm still being passed frequently on both sides. The gulf in speed between me and the others on the track is impressive. 20, 30, maybe even 40 miles an hour in some places. People fly by. That's all fine. It's part of the process of learning how it works, but it was eye-opening and not for the faint of heart. So many cars out there are pushing hard, carving out every single position they can. My biggest takeaway is how different this is from track days and any other event I've done. Racing is completely different. I felt quite out of my element for my first whole session. At one point, even thinking, am I in over my head? But those jitters are normal. The reaction is normal. It's part of racing. Track days and other high-performance driving events focus on safety, fun, and safety. Yes, twice. With a structure in place for passing on the straights and point bys, and instructors riding with you if you're a beginner, and only driving as fast as you're comfortable as an approach. Racing is quite literally the opposite. Passing is anywhere you can squeeze by. You need to be incredibly aware of your surroundings, using your mirrors, using your ears to the extent that you can, and to be aware of what's around you. Your eyes are constantly scanning for cars, debris, flaggers, traffic ahead, crashes, spills on the track, your gauges, your temperatures, and everything else. The great news is, the more you drive, the more comfortable you feel, the more you get used to that chaos, and you start to find your groove. Now at this point, you might be wondering if we made it all day without any issues with the car. For a car this old to be driven this hard, surely it would be a miracle to have no issues. Yeah, because we did have some issues. However, we were so fortunate that they weren't serious. First, during my second or third session, while coming into the old oval infield, I got pushed wide on that turn and my right rear tire ran up onto the curbing. When I was transitioning back into the main pavement, it hit a pretty sizable pothole at speed. Clank. Within seconds, I noticed a terrible oscillation in the back right corner. I'd blown the rear shock mount. Now, amazingly, out of the 4 or 5 spare parts we had brought for the car, a rear shock mount, the part I broke, was one of them. And we had that part. I pitted in, staying right in the car, and the guys jacked up the car, replaced it, and I was back on track. Then later in the day, during one of Joe's sessions, the gas pedal disconnected from the floor. Not kidding. The electrical cable stayed connected, because the throttle is drive-by-wire, but it was no longer mounted to the floor. The 24-year-old plastic bracket that had held onto that pedal uses 2 thin plastic tabs. Well, time wasn't kind to them, and they finally just gave up the ghost and failed. Squeezing the pedal somehow between his feet, Joe made it back to the pits.
Pedal.
Yeah, that's no good. We'll have to fix that. Engine off.
It's not supposed to be like that, is it?
Yeah, it's not supposed to be like that.
Yep, I got a hand for
5 zip ties? Or several
zip ties and snips.
Zip ties and snips. And the dikes, please.
Oh, good. And there's even a gap under the pedal. Cool. We used about 6 zip ties. We were able to reattach it, and sure enough, he was back on track. Combined, both incidents cost us less than an hour total, though it definitely did cost us a bunch of positions. At the end of each day of racing, they have a special celebratory reception for every car that makes it to the end of the day. As the cars come off the track, everyone in attendance heads over to the pits and cheers for all the cars as they come in.
It is such a wonderful moment to experience for ourselves and truly a big accomplishment.
Leave it all on the track. Yeah! Woo!
Yeah, Travis! Day 2, I'm up first. We had to tow or push our car to the hot pits due to a noise ordinance that clears just before the racing starts. So we towed the car out to the track.
Keep going. Keep going. You got 2-3 feet. 3, 2, 1. You're pulling. You're pulling.
After a little bit of a snafu at the beginning, where a car was leaking oil nearly all the way around the track, I was back into it. Immediately, I was feeling much more comfortable with the driving on the second day. All that newness and first-time experience jitters were gone. I was driving harder and feeling more comfortable, confident, and started really holding my own. No more just letting all but the slowest cars by. Instead, I held cars off, even passing quite a bit of traffic and lapping a couple cars. On day 2, we each did 60 to 90 minutes straight, so we actually each only did one session, as the second day is shorter than the first. I want to take a second to talk about the cool suit. Originally, just a side project that I did while we were working on the car, it turned out to be an absolute lifesaver. It was hot, 90 degrees plus, high humidity, not to mention you're in the car, fully suited up for a long period of time. Stoked with ice, the cool suit system kept all of us cool enough, and it really was worth its weight in gold. The toggle switch that we had set up worked flawlessly, and the little bilge pump that we used to pump all the water worked without any complaint. Truly a must-have piece of equipment when your car has no AC and you're racing in the summer. The other hugely important piece of equipment was the radio. Beyond Lenny just talking with the drivers, it helped us with so many things. Timing out our pit stops, reporting issues with the car, figuring out what our fuel situation was, drivers making a change of plans, etc. Also, Lenny was being really attentive and alert as he could see most of the track from his vantage point up on the hill, and that let him call out accidents, cautions, and other observations that were a little bit less of a surprise for the driver. It was a crucial bit of kit that really helped everything go smoothly. Plus, we had a handful of additional radios, so all of our supporters and our team could listen in, and when there were issues, we could immediately head to the pits or wherever to help. Speaking of issues, about an hour from the end of the race, the second day, everything's gone smooth. Just as we're getting used to the idea that we'd actually finish, we get some bad news over that radio. Travis is our final driver on his final stint, about an hour left in the race, and we hear, "Off track, tap the wall, driver's left side, I'm okay." We all race off to the garages as we know that we're gonna get a black flag for that, but with little info, we wanted to know first if he's okay, and how's the car? Are our chances of finishing over? Thankfully, it was almost purely superficial damage to the car. Just before the front straight, he'd swung wide, skidded a little bit off the track, and lightly kissed the wall. Literally, just a kiss.
It broke one of the front bumper mounts, a few zip ties and connectors, but the bumper wasn't rubbing and wasn't about to fall off. After the judges talked to him, we inspected everything and made a game time decision to run it and see what happens. Mercifully, as those racing gods are, the car made it to the end of the race without any further issues. As Travis took the checkers, there was a big crowd, again cheering everyone as they came off the track, though this time there were fewer cars on the second day. We cheered, we jumped on the back of the car and rode it all the way back to the pits, and then we went to the awards ceremony. The mood was electric for everyone that finished. Everyone who made it felt like heroes, and the air was full of applause and cheering. A few final stats for you about the race. We completed a total of 368 laps over 14 hours between the 2 days. For comparison, the winning car did 499 laps. The track is 1.7 miles long, so that means we did 625 miles in total. We took second place out of all the first-timer rookie teams, and finally, we finished 51st out of 96 teams. I'm going to have other videos where I reflect on the racing, share the things I learned, etc. But I gotta say that this is one of my most proud personal accomplishments I've had in my entire life. And we all really exceeded every expectation we had setting out. We're already excited for the race in October. I know this was a long one and a long time coming, but thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. And until next time, Fred out!